Keir Starmer, thank you for joining me on the show today. And here we are in Camden, at the Roundhouse, your constituency. Now, it's sometimes said that being the leader of the opposition is the hardest job in politics. But you're looking quite relaxed today, and it's not just your jeans, it's not just your dress down Thursday.
And that we're in Camden.
And we're in Camden, we're in your home patch. But you're looking pretty relaxed. You seem pretty relaxed at PMQs this week. Is that because of the Tory leadership race?
I think it's a combination, really. Obviously, having gone through a really hard few years in the Labour Party, it is very nice to be seeing the Conservative Party tearing itself apart and providing me with such brilliant material to attack them. But there's a slightly wider feeling of well-being in the Labour Party at the moment, because after 2 hard years of leadership, we've got ourselves with the local elections and the Wakefield by-election into a position where what we had back then was a hope that we might win the next election. That's turned into a belief that we'll win that next election. And that, I think, has built a sort of confidence, an inner confidence in the Labour Party that wasn't there until the last few months.
It's almost when you took over, everyone went, you're the guy that's going to get the party ready, you're going to lose the next general election, and then there'll be someone that succeeds you that gets to be PM, and you were going to do the hard graft. Someone else was going to enjoy the spoils.
Yeah.
Do you almost believe now, do you agree with that you kind of might have thought that yourself a bit?
Well, when I took over 2 years and 2 or 3 months ago, most people said, good luck here.
Yeah.
And then, behind my back, but not nastily, they sort of said, but you're never going to do it in one term. You can't get the Labour Party from where it landed in 2019, worst election results since 1935, etc., to win an election.
Did you sort of think that too?
No,
Come on.
I never did actually
Didn't
think
you?
that. I knew what we had
the
to
audacity
do
of hope.
to change and continue to change the party, which we've been working so hard on. Needed to expose the Tories for what they were, unfit to govern, and then say, well, if not them, then why us? So I never thought we couldn't do it. But this year, you can feel it. People are thinking, you know what? There's a belief now that we can.
Is it also because you found Boris Johnson's going and you found him quite a difficult... You did find him a difficult opponent, right? He was kind of like stardust, and you found it hard, did you, to tackle him?
It wasn't so much hard. I really disliked the fact that he was Prime Minister of the country. He had such an opportunity to do good things, to make the change that we needed, and he wasn't doing any of it. That's those sort of empty promises, never delivering, slogans but nothing behind them. That really frustrated me. And that's not just a party political point, by the way. There are Conservative leaders. Theresa May, as someone I worked with when I was Director of Public Prosecutions, she was Home Secretary. Now, I may have disagreed with her politically, but she had a sense of what the job was, the change he needed to bring about, and he didn't have. And so to be Prime Minister and not pull the levers and make the change.
Who would you rather face across the dispatch box? Leaving party issues aside, which of those two people does the national interest require to be a leader?
I really don't mind, Beth. I really don't mind.
Who do you think would be better for the country?
I don't think either of them, because I think it's a mistake to think that the change that we need now is just a change at the top of the Tory party. We've had 10 years of stagnation, and try to think, what are most people, most families, what's their emotion? And I think most people say, I'm worse off, I'm cutting back, and this has been going on a very, very long time. And so they can't bring about the change that we need in the country.
Also, just before I go on, are you also more relaxed because of the Durham case is over? You were exonerated. How did that feel for you, the moment that the police announced that investigation? Was it a mouth go dry moment for you? You knew, you must have known in that moment, God, I'm going to have to resign if they find me. Was it horrible? It must have been awful.
It was a really big moment when they made their decision. I was confident that we hadn't broken the
I know,
rules,
I'm not... How did it make you feel? You must have been nervous, frightened. Did you think, God, it's all about to go wrong for me?
I really hated it, if I'm honest, being subject to a criminal investigation. When you've been the Director of Public Prosecutions, I hated it. And, I'm not like other people in many respects who may say, well, that it doesn't really matter. it really meant a lot to me. It was a burden that I was carrying. I'm trying not to show it, of course, but it was there every day. And of course, I was massively pleased when the decision came through, completely exonerated.
What did
me.
you say to Vic, your wife, when it happened? What did she say to you?
A lot of people, when I took the decision, criticised me for taking 2 or 3 days to take the decision. You may remember.
I do remember.
They said they were investigating. And it wasn't until the Monday
I do
that I
remember.
made the mistake.
And you were criticised for that. You were criticised for
that. Can I tell you why, Beth? Because I put my whole career on the line. Everything I've ever done. I've been a lawyer, I've worked in Northern Ireland, I've been Director of Public Prosecutions, I've been an MP, leader of the Labour Party, and I put all of that on the line. And I wasn't going to do that until I'd sat down, as I did on that Sunday, and talked it through with Vic, my wife, because it's a huge decision to take. I took it as a matter of principle because I thought strongly that those who make the rules can't break the rules. I also wanted to show that not all politicians are the same, because I think that is very corrosive. And the delay was my fault. It wasn't that people have blamed me or the team and said, why didn't you get out quicker? Why didn't you make the 9 o'clock news? But I knew I need to sit down on my own with Vic. And say, this is what I'm going to do. What do you think about it? Is it the right decision? I am literally putting everything on the line for a principle that I believe in, but it's going to have a huge impact on us. And that's what the Sunday was all about.
She didn't think twice, though. I mean, you must have known on Friday that's what you were going to have to do, but what you're saying is you had to check it with her.
Yeah, I was up in the northwest of the country when that decision came through. I got the train back that afternoon, and I knew in my gut what I was going to do. Vic knew what I was going to do, and she supported me through it.
You're still not cutting through, and Labour are doing well in the opinion polls, but you're doing quite badly in terms of personal ratings. What's going on, do you think?
Well, look, we need to put this in its perspective, I think, in its proper context. We picked up the Labour Party 2 years ago, having lost it very, very badly in the election, and nobody thought we could win the next election. Now the challenge I'm getting is, why aren't you further ahead in the polls? People need to remember that 2 years ago they were saying to me, you're not even going to get into that position here. So one of the techniques I've tried to...
You think people bank your gains and ignore them, and then they...
When I reflect on the 2 years, what are the things I need to do better and differently? One of them is to try and blank out some of the noise some of the time and just keep focused on the job in hand.
Members of the public, and this is a poll on June the 13th, Gerald Partners, that members of the public think you are boring, bland and dull. It's not very easy for me to say that to you because it feels a bit rude, but that's what... I mean, does that hurt you when... And do you think, no, I'm not? I mean, what's happening that who you are doesn't seem to connect? Or are you a bit boring? I don't know.
I don't think I am, and I don't think you think I am, Beth, but I'm not going to pretend that I think that politics is a branch of the entertainment business. It's not. Running the country is a really serious issue, and you need serious politicians to do it. One of the frustrations of the last 12 years is that we haven't had a serious strategy for growing our economy, taking the opportunities of the future. I think we need that. What I like is when we get out, we go around the country, talk to people where they are, whatever they're doing. Great interactions, whether it's people, communities, businesses, etc. And I often say to them, what do you want from a government? What's the thing that you want most? And none of them say to me, oh, we need a bit more entertainment here. We need a few one-liners. They say, I want someone serious who understands my life.
Boris Johnson is showbiz in a way, isn't he? In a way, he was showbiz and he was hugely successful. Well, so, I mean, in a telegenic age, maybe you do need a bit of entertainment in politics. I don't know.
Well, was he hugely successful?
Well, I mean, he was electorally successful.
Well, he won an election, and I'm not failing to acknowledge that. Of course I acknowledge that. And that was very successful. He got an 80-seat majority. 2 years and, 7 months after that, he is removed from office by his own side in disgrace. I mean, if you take David Cameron or Theresa May, they left office, but because of big policy disagreements. He's left office in disgrace. I don't think that's a success. Two and a half years or so since an election win, you're kicked out of office because
Okay.
nobody trusts you. That's not my definition
Let me
of
put it.
success.
Let me put it another way to you, because I'm not asking you to be kind of provocative. I'm actually asking you because it seems to be a barrier in your ability to win people over. I mean, do you think there's something you need to change about yourself, or do you think it's more that you need to stop being a lawyer and start being a bit more of a politician? And what I mean by that is you seem to weigh all your words so carefully when you're on camera at the dispatch box. And is it because you're worried about messing up that words count in a court of law in a way they don't perhaps count as much in normal conversation?
Well, I think, words matter, and I do think quite carefully about what I say. And but actually, when we're out of the formal setting, we have all sorts of conversations in lots of different ways. Do I need to change the way I am? Look, we all need to change the way we are all of the time. But in the end, what matters to me is, do you believe in the mission of an incoming Labour government? And the answer to that is yes. Do I know what I need to do? Yes, I do. And how do I I came into politics later than most people.
So you're still learning it?
No,
learning how to do
I'm making a different point. Outside of politics, in almost every other walk of life, there's always going to be challenges. And whether you're an individual, whether in an organisation, whether in business, you identify what the problem is and you fix it. And that's my mindset.
What about another reason the public might feel unsure about you is that they can't decide what you believe. And the reason I say that is you spent years trying to get Jeremy Corbyn into government. Now you seem to completely repudiate the left. You acknowledge that's difficult for the public, that you were trying to get this guy into power and now you're kind of disowning everything it was about. In 2019, in that general election, did you want to see a Corbyn-led government with every fibre of your being?
I wanted a Labour government, of course I did. I wanted a Labour government, but my focus is on the next election, not the last election.
The reason I'm asking is that members of the public might look at it and go, hang on, this guy was happy to have Jeremy Corbyn as the leader. He wasn't worried about national security. Then you do your big thing on NATO. It's like, what's he about? He's flip-flopping.
I'm about me. I'm about what I need to be. The Prime Minister I want to be of our country. And the change we've done in the Labour Party has been profound, dealing with anti-Semitism, making it absolutely clear that national security matters, that our support for NATO is unshakable, building a new relationship with business.
So one issue that struck me over the strikes, the RMT strikes, it was watching Labour politicians tie themselves in knots about did Labour back the strikes or didn't they back the strikes. What on earth was going on? Why did you not take a clear position?
Well, the position I took was clear, and it was very, very straightforward, which is I didn't want the strikes to go ahead because of the disruption. That is the position that actually many of those who were striking or likely to strike wanted. They want it resolved.
Yes.
To say, of course, I understand the frustrations of those who've had wages that have not gone up in many cases for a long time, got a cost of living crisis. But what I wanted was the government to step in.
I get that.
And help. No, it's really important, Beth,
But
because
that wasn't the question. The question was what the...
No, you asked me what my position was, whether it's clear, and that was my position on it.
That Labour at no point would say we do or don't support the strikes. You can say I don't want the strikes to happen, but when they are happening, the question was, does the Labour Party support the RMT going onto the picket line or doesn't it? And it's a really simple question. And I just watched Labour politicians tie themselves in knots because presumably you didn't want to upset the unions, but you also knew that the public were upset about the strikes. Is that what was going on?
One of the problems we've had in the Labour Party for a long time now is that we envisaged ourselves as in opposition the whole time. We have to get into the mindset of being in government. If you're in government, this was what I said to my shadow cabinet when we had the discussion about the strikes. If you're in government and you're around the cabinet table, then you have to resolve these issues. You have to make sure that the negotiations complete successfully. Mark Drakeford in Wales did that. He brought the people together, the parties together, and resolved the issue. That's the role of government.
Before we stop, I've got to ask you this, because we're at the Roundhouse in Camden. Now, lots of people might not know this. You're quite a talented musician, aren't you?
Well, I was. I wouldn't say I am.
You're
about
lapsed.
to pass me.
What's the best gig you've ever been to in the Roundhouse? You're thinking, I haven't been to the Roundhouse.
Oh, Orange Juice. I mean, my all-time favourite band played here.
I don't know orange juice. This is
Edwin
showing me up.
Collins. Yeah. Edwin Collins, orange juice. Rip it up.
I don't know
You
this.
must know that. They were here. But
Okay.
we went to see Adele the other day with the kids.
Oh, did you?
Absolutely fantastic. And in
yeah.
2 or 3 weeks, we're off to see Coldplay,
You're
which
gonna
is
see
my wife's absolute favourite.
Now, so you Coldplay, Adele. The other thing that people might not know about you, some things they might not know, you play football with your friends once a week. You take your boy to Arsenal matches.
And my girl now.
Well, yeah, and when your daughter was younger, you used to pick her up from school, and you used to organise your diary around that. I don't think people might not know that about you, but this job, your job, is totally encompassing. It can destroy your marriage, it can destroy your life, it can take over. Did you ever harbour any ambiguity about wanting to do this job because of the impact on your family and your family life?
That's the hardest bit, is the impact it has on my family. It's the bit I worry about the most. It's why we never name our children in public. It's why Vic, my wife, doesn't do interviews, because I want to protect them as best I can, because, you know, of course, I'm in the public eye. That's the nature of the job, but it does take a toll on them. We do have some rules. You know, I try to ensure that every Friday by 6 o'clock I'm home and I'm just there for Vic and the kids.
What do? Do you put your phone in the bin or something?
Well,
put it in a
it's
drawer,
not
lock
quite
it
as easy
away.
as that. But we get a takeaway on a Friday. We have the family. Quite often, Vic's dad will come over. Sometimes we do Friday night prayers with him. But we then argue about whether we're going to watch something on the television. The kids will be on their laptops.
Are you religious? I didn't know that.
Well, Vic's family is Jewish, and so her dad likes to have the Friday night prayers,
Right.
so we do that occasionally, not religiously every Friday.
You're not religious yourself,
No,
though.
but we want our children to understand his Jewish, family. They came from Poland. We want them to know.
Do you raise the
their
children
history.
as...
No, we don't. But we want them to know that Vic's family is Jewish, and to know the traditions and the history, to understand, what is part of their family, obviously, now.
One final question. I've really run out of time and everyone's telling me to wind up. Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, actually not Gordon Brown, but Tony Blair and Kinnock, they did sort of have their families more in the public eye, and you said it's a conscious decision, not. But, when people sort of talk about who is Keir Starmer, the person, isn't your family like your biggest asset in a way?
Yeah, and Vic is fantastic, and everybody who's seen or met Vic says, she's fantastic, and she is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But I don't want, we don't want our family destroyed by all of this. Of course, it's a difficult one to get right, but we didn't have children as sort of props in my political life. That's not why we had kids. We had kids because we wanted to have a family of our own.
Well, Keir Starmer, I should let you go because it's nearly the weekend. You've got to get home for Friday night. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us on the show today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. And if you scan this QR code on your screen now, you can watch all of our interviews online and all of the previous episodes of the show.